22-year-old Rodney Wood is accused of shooting a fellow 32-year-old Popeyes employee over overcooked biscuits. At around 6 p.m. on Sunday the 11th of May, authorities responded to a Popeyes located at 9501 South Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina, after they received a call about an assault with a deadly weapon. When officers arrived, they located the victim in the parking lot of the store with multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to the hospital with serious life-threatening injuries where he underwent surgery. Authorities said that a customer saw Robert and the victim get into a verbal altercation inside the fast food restaurant due to burnt biscuits. Both men then went outside when the argument turned physical. Rodney had a gun on him and shot the victim twice at point-blank range. One shot hit the man in the groin and the second shot in the chest. Rodney fled the scene following the incident, but police located him nearby. When questioned, he told police that the victim punched him in the face 3 times, causing him to fire 2 warning shots not intending to kill. Both Rodney and the victim are managers at Popeyes, and they've reportedly had issues in the past. Rodney previously asked to transfer locations because he did not want to work with the victim. Rodney was booked into the Mecklenburg County Jail on 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. A 32-year-old man is accused of drugging and burning a 62-year-old amputee alive in a mobile home for making a comment about a 13-year-old girl. At around 7 a.m. on Saturday the 10th of May, police and fire crews responded to a report of a structure fire in the 200 block of Gibbs Street in Billings, Montana. Firefighters extinguished the blaze and found a dead body, later identified as 62-year-old Michael Lee Huston, inside the residence. A subsequent autopsy determined that Michael's manner of death was a homicide. However, the cause of death has not been released. Authorities said that the evidence at the scene indicated that foul play was a likely factor in the death. Investigators were able to identify a person of interest and put out a description of the vehicle that the individual was possibly driving. That individual was later identified as 32-year-old James Hosey of Billings, Montana. On Monday the 12th of May, authorities arrested James at the Love's Travel stop near Hardin, Montana, after tracking him down using his cell phone's emergency locate function. Authorities said they were first tipped off to James's possible involvement in Michael's death by a gas station attendant. She spoke to James on the day of the fire, describing him as a regular customer and claiming that he told her he had tied someone up and then set them on fire. The gas station attendant said that James claimed to have smoked a Predator. James also reportedly phoned a friend in Michigan and told him that he just killed Michael over inappropriate remarks the victim allegedly made about an underage girl. During the call, he said to his friend, "So went over there and got him high, on the brink of passing out, tied him up, beat his ass and poured gas in the house and set fire to him." James is charged with 1 count of deliberate homicide, arson, theft and tampering with evidence. On Thursday the 15th of May, James appeared in the Yellowstone County District Court where he pleaded not guilty to the charges. He's currently being held at the Yellowstone County Detention Facility on a $500,000 bond. A 31-year-old man will spend decades behind bars after he killed his mother with a machete. On Wednesday the 14th of May 2025, Jonathan Taylor appeared at the Galveston County Court in Texas and was sentenced to 50 years in prison after pleading guilty to the 2024 murder of his mother, 68-year-old Regina McIntyre. At just before 8 p.m. on the 9th of October 2024, authorities responded to a Wendy's fast food restaurant along Palmer Highway in Texas City, Texas, after Jonathan walked into the store covered in blood and asked staff to call police. When officers arrived, they made contact with Jonathan, who had self-inflicted stab wounds to both his arms, and initially told officers he had been robbed. He was taken to a medical center for the wounds, when he admitted that he attacked his mother at his home in the 2900 block of Tarpey Avenue in Texas City. Police subsequently performed a welfare check on Regina where they discovered a chaotic and bloody scene. She was found on the kitchen floor with severe stab wounds and a machete nearby. She was flown to a hospital in a critical condition, but died from her injuries. An autopsy later revealed Regina sustained at least 25 lacerations from the machete. Authorities said that the blood on Jonathan's clothes and body matched Regina's DNA. During an interview with detectives, Jonathan admitted that he used the machete to kill his mother. A 31-year-old bus rider is behind bars for fatally stabbing a fellow 30-year-old passenger. At around 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday the 14th of May, authorities responded to the 500 block of South Laurel Boulevard in Austin, Texas, after a 911 caller rang to say that someone had been stabbed on a Cap Metro bus. When first responders arrived, they found 30-year-old Akaysha Miller seriously injured with a deep gash to his neck. They attempted life-saving measures. However, he was pronounced dead at 7:30 p.m. Homicide detectives interviewed witnesses and learnt that the suspect, later identified as 31-year-old Deepak Kandel, had been sitting next to Akaysha on the bus when, without provocation, he stabbed him in the neck. Once the bus was stopped, Deepak calmly exited the bus with other passengers and left the scene on foot. Police were able to locate and detain Deepak a short time later. During questioning, Deepak admitted to stabbing Akaysha due to him resembling his uncle. Deepak's charged with murder and remains held at the Travis County Jail without bond. Police are investigating after a 33-year-old woman was fatally shot while sitting in a car. The incident occurred at 2:34 p.m. on Thursday the 15th of May, when the victim, later identified as Akaysha Miller, was sitting in a parked white car in the 1600 block of South Ridgeway Avenue in the Lawndale neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois, when three people approached her. One of them took out a gun and shot her in the head and torso. Akaysha tried driving away, but she crashed into a tree at the scene. Medics transported her to Mount Sinai Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Authorities have yet to identify the suspects or what led to the shooting, and there have been no arrests to date. Akaysha was an up-and-coming rapper known as Akdagi. Her social media profile shows her posing with wads of cash in one picture, along with a gun in another. The investigation into the matter continues. 43-year-old Jessica Nadeau-Ouellette has been charged with drunk driving and a weapons violation after police caught her speeding. At 1:27 a.m. on Friday the 16th of May, officers reported seeing Jessica's vehicle speeding down the westbound side of Route 2 in Ledyard, Connecticut. She was clocked going 107 miles per hour in a 50 miles per hour zone. When officers pulled Jessica over, there was a strong odor of alcohol coming from her breath. Her eyes were glossy and her speech slurred. Jessica was given a standardized field sobriety test, which police say she failed. Police also said they found a firearm in her handbag. Jessica was arrested and charged with driving under the influence, illegal carry of a firearm under the influence, and reckless driving. She was released on a $10,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in the New London Superior Court on the 27th of May. 26-year-old Neil McCaffery has been arrested for nearly beating his 3-month-old daughter to death. At around 6 p.m. on Thursday the 8th of May, authorities responded to a residence along South Pershing Drive in Muncie, Indiana on reports of an unresponsive infant. When officers arrived, they made contact with the child's parents, who claimed that the infant was suffering from a gas bubble that was stuck in her throat. The duo said that they attempted to burp the child, but she went limp and became unresponsive. Medics on scene believe the victim was suffering from a seizure and was transported by helicopter to Riley Children's Hospital in Indianapolis for treatment. Doctors determined that the infant was suffering from bleeding on both sides of her brain, in her eyes and along the spinal cord. Several days later, after doctors performed emergency surgery to relieve the pressure on the baby's brain, she went into cardiac arrest and was later placed on a feeding tube. Doctors reportedly said a portion of her brain stopped receiving oxygen and started to die, predicting that she'll likely have developmental delays. While at the hospital, investigators interviewed Neil and the child's mother, whose name remains anonymous. During the interview, Neil said that he arrived at home after work at around 5:30 p.m. and gone outside to do some yard work. Soon after, he heard his wife say that the child was being fussy from a gas bubble stuck from eating. He took the baby to his bedroom and slapped her on the back several times to get her to burp. He then placed her on his bed and began to count money. He also said that his wife was in the room. A short while later, he said he noticed that the baby was turning blue and that her body had gone limp. He said that while his wife called 911, he put his daughter in front of a nearby fan because she was hot. Doctors told investigators that the child's head injuries were consistent with trauma, likely from being shaken or thrown to the ground. Officers spoke to Neil's wife, who corroborated Neil's statement, aside from the fact that she was not in the room. When told that the child's injuries were consistent with trauma and shaking, she said she had never shaken her. She said that Neil had come inside after hearing her daughter crying uncontrollably and took her into her bedroom. She said that Neil and her daughter were in the room for about 4 minutes when she stopped crying. Soon after, Neil came out and said the baby wasn't breathing. On Wednesday the 14th of May, Neil was arrested and charged with 1 count of felony neglect of a dependent resulting in serious bodily injury. He was booked into the Delaware County Jail, but was released hours later after posting a $20,000 bond. The investigation into the matter continues. A 32-year-old man is accused of assaulting an elementary school student at a home in Gilliam, Missouri. On the 10th of April, the Missouri Department of Social Services learnt about a child who said a mother would allow different men to abuse her in exchange for meth when she was between 3 and 12 years old. She identified one of the men as Tom, but forgot the other men's names. Tom was identified as Thomas Gibbs Jr. The victim, her brother, her mother, and mother's boyfriend reportedly moved into a small apartment in Gilliam, Missouri when she was 5 years old, though she said it was a mistake because that was when bad things started to happen. The victim said her mother and her boyfriend would smoke out of glass pipes, and it would make them angry and tired. Once her mother and boyfriend broke up, Tom reportedly started hanging out around the apartment. The victim said that Tom lived in a trailer with his mother where they had a room full of chemistry stuff. The victim stopped attending school, so the school sent a hotline number. She reportedly said that Tom beat her and her brother, which the Department of Social Services had pictures of. The victim said that Tom would mainly talk to her rather than her mother when he came around. Tom allegedly had her sit on his lap while they used his PlayStation. She was 7 or 8 years old at the time. She claimed that on more than one occasion, Tom held her down on the bed while he assaulted her. He allegedly told her it was a secret and they were play fighting. The victim told detectives that she didn't have fun. It wasn't a game she liked to play. Detectives spoke with the victim's mother. He said Tom house sat for her while she spent time in jail on the weekends, and that they probably used meth together. She also said that she couldn't remember Tom ever bringing over a PlayStation, but noted they had an Xbox in the house. A neighbour, however, said she saw Tom with the gaming console. On the 7th of May, authorities arrested Thomas at his home and charged him with rape. He's held at the Saline County Jail on a $250,000 cash-only bond. A 23-year-old school worker is accused of engaging in inappropriate acts with a 14-year-old student. Joshua James Moton was a campus supervisor at Richfield Middle School, where the incidents reportedly occurred. On Tuesday the 13th of May, police were informed by the school administrator that Joshua had been engaging in sex acts with a female student. Officers then spoke to a student, who reported that the 14-year-old victim had told them about what was going on, and had reportedly seen emails on the student's laptop from Joshua, which said he was going to take her to the pool area of the school where there were no cameras. The victim later told police that she knew Joshua as a hall monitor in the school. She said that about a month ago, he kissed her in the school basement, causing her to freeze when it happened. Afterwards, the victim said that Joshua would take her from class to the basement multiple times, where he would engage in acts with her over the course of a month, with the most recent incident taking place the day before. Joshua also reportedly messaged the girl over social media during after-school hours. While speaking with authorities, Joshua admitted to contacting the victim on social media, but denied ever engaging in any sexual acts with her, but after further questioning he reportedly confessed he had. He then agreed that the encounters were inappropriate and illegal because she was a student and he holds a position of authority at the school. Joshua was arrested and charged with first and second degree criminal sexual conduct. He remains held at the Hennepin County Jail. If convicted of the charges, Joshua faces up to 55 years in prison. 24-year-old Deshawn James Armfield is behind bars for fatally shooting his girlfriend 20-year-old Alaysha Odom. At 10:21 p.m. on Thursday the 15th of May, authorities responded to the Ramada Inn at 3030 North Roberts Avenue in Lumberton, North Carolina, on reports of a domestic disturbance. When officers arrived, they found Alaysha in a critical condition, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. She was transported to a nearby hospital for treatment, but died from her injuries. During the course of the investigation, authorities identified Alaysha's boyfriend Deshawn as a suspect. However, he'd fled the scene before officers arrived. At around 12:05 p.m. the following day, Deshawn voluntarily surrendered to officers at the Lumberton Police Department. He was charged with first-degree murder, and he's held at the Robeson County Jail without bond.